With a 122-106 win over the Bulls, the Bucks have now won 4 of their last 5. Now we know third quarters have been a bit problematic for the Bucks this season, but Giannis said, came through, scored 25 of his 41 in the third quarter. We'll break down the win plus more on the other side of the intro.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Camille Davis, and joining me is Frank Madden, founder of BrewHoop.com, longtime voice of the pod. We appreciate you for tuning in, and we thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Plus, you can catch us in newsletter form as well. We have the Locked On Bucks daily newsletter. Sign up at lockedondaily.com for a one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered to your inbox Monday through Friday. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Frank, Bucks got another win today, got their lick back against the Chicago Bulls. First quarter started off kind of slow for both teams, but you saw the Bucks start to pick up some steam. Same into the second quarter. Could have went to halftime with a bigger lead, but yet and still they had a 12-point lead heading into the third quarter. And as I mentioned, third quarters have been a little tricky for the Bucks, and it was looking that way for them early on. The Bulls got it within 1. Like the score was 80-81 at one point in the fourth before Giannis took over and the Bucks were able to pull ahead. Strong fourth quarter, but I feel like we got to start with Giannis because what he did in that third quarter was spectacular. He had 25 of his 41 points there. The Bucks itself scored 29 points in that quarter. 25 of them were from Giannis.
Yeah, and honestly, I knew he was having a big quarter, but I didn't really process that it was 25. I mean, 25 in a quarter is crazy. The other day against Detroit when he had, what was it, 22? Was it 22 or 24?
22, I think.
First quarter. Yeah, it felt like he was just scoring an absolute ton. In this game, something about it felt a little more organic or something, but he was obviously in attack mode. He wasn't really settling for a lot of mid-range shots. And no Patrick Williams in this game, who I think Patrick Williams, has generally been their best defender against Giannis over the years. He's out with an injury. And it just didn't feel like they had anybody that could really kind of hang with them, which, I mean, how many guys can hang with Giannis, period?
Say that.
Fair question. But they needed everything that he could give them in that third quarter to kind of hold the Bulls at bay as once again Chicago went on a heater from three, as we saw in the prior game. I think they hit 21 threes in the earlier game. They hit 17 tonight. Kobe White thankfully did not turn into Steph Curry. Zach LaVine did go absolutely nuclear, especially in that first half. But then I thought I saw someone tweet that he scored 2 points basically in the last quarter and a half, and it coincided with our boy AJ Green getting more of that defensive assignment. So the stopper, AJ Green, did the work tonight. Yeah, who needs Ajax when you can get all NBA level defense and ridiculous 3-point shooting? So that was he was definitely a guy that showed out. Obviously, Giannis was the story. I thought his playmaking as well as the game wore on, started to also be critical. Thankfully, other guys actually made some shots in that fourth quarter. He reeled off, I think, 2 or 3 assists in short order. Had a great look for AJ Green. AJ saw Giannis drive baseline, picked up his dribble. AJ floated to that kind of far corner by the Bucks bench. Giannis seemed like he saw him on one side and then pivoted back around and just kind of blindly threw like a hook pass into the corner for AJ. And that was a huge 3. I don't know if they were up 1 at that point or 2. That was when the game was very close. And it was nice just to see somebody other than Giannis was capable of scoring a basket for the Milwaukee Bucks. And AJ had a really good night, really on both ends. And so he made that big play there. for part of his 14 points. And Dame Lillard, who hit a 3 early, but then missed a bunch of threes. And
Hasn't been
just a
falling for him.
strange game, right? I mean, 1 for 18 in the 3 games prior to this. I think he was like 5 for 7, I just think something like that, on 2-pointers tonight. Looked good getting the rim, had 10 assists. I thought his playmaking was good for the most part. Did have a couple turnovers in the fourth quarter, but strange when the 3-point shot is the one thing you don't trust with Dame, but that's kind of where we are right now. But credit to him, he didn't let the lack of, I hesitate to say lack of confidence, because I don't think Dame's ever gonna not shoot threes.
Right.
It did feel like he understood that he had to be more aggressive, trying to make plays off the dribble, making passes. He had in the first half, he had a nice little dribble drive. Instead of settling for a floater, threw it up to Giannis for a dunk. Had a couple nice finishes around the rim when he got advantages. And so, solid night for him, despite still being in a bit of a shooting slump. So hopefully he's just saving himself for the Friday matchup against the Pacers and his dear friend Tyrese Halliburton tonight, by the way, in a Pacers loss. But yeah, just I think, Giannis obviously leading the way. He's the headline, but enough from Dame kind of overall from a playmaking standpoint. And Brook Lopez, down from Brook, he was awesome again tonight. Offensively, I thought, he was really kind of the WD-40 on this offense in a way. And, I think he made a couple nice passes, and I think there was just, Camille, I would say I really like the pace of the Bucks offense tonight.
Yeah.
And normally when we talk about pace, we think of like getting out and fast breaking, but I think what the big problem the Bucks have had is they have no pace in the half court. And, like when the first thing doesn't work, it just feels like eventually they just get to a point where it's stuck in somebody's hands and they got to go make a play. And they have a lot of guys who just don't do well in those situations. And there were just a few examples tonight where, it was like Dame and Brook, and, Brook set a screen, Dame takes it, goes one way, it's not there. But instead of just kind of like backing out and then kind of letting the offense kind of grind to a halt, Dame comes over and sets another screen. Brook comes over, sets another screen, and he rolls to the rim. And, just there were a few examples that where it just felt like there was just more kind of fluidity, and they rolled from, one thing to the next. So again, they had multiple bites at the apple, right? It wasn't like they had 1 or 2 actions and then things just kind of bogged down. It felt like they were getting to 3 and 4 actions and dribble handoffs and doing different things. I saw AJ had a nice pocket pass out of a dribble handoff to Giannis for a finish. Taurean Prince had one of those. So in my constant search for somebody other than Pat Connaughton to be able to run a dribble handoff with Giannis, we had a couple of nice nominations from those guys on a night when Pat Connaughton
didn't play again.
Did not play. Yes, did not.
We got to talk about that, Frank.
Yeah. So yeah, again, was this a work of art? No. I think it was too competitive in the fourth quarter from what you would have wanted. Was not the 48-minute effort we've been pining for and that we have been hoping for. But, you also didn't need to take it down to the last minute. They eventually got the separation that I think they deserved. The Bulls' 3-point shooting eventually kind of ran out a little bit. And again, solid win, not the win that announces that you're now a title contender. But, with first things first, they need to keep winning games to move to 6-9. Tied with the Pacers. I think they're 1 game out of the 5 seed now, 3 games out of the 3 seed, wherever it might be. Again, just sort of clawing in that right direction. And right now, again, like as far as just stack wins, however you can get them. And if you can get another win on Friday against a Pacers team that obviously has also not been playing as well as they would like to, that would be, I think, just another kind of really big step in the right direction, especially with the opportunity they have right now in terms of the current schedule.
Definitely agree with you on that one. And to your point about still waiting for the Bucks to put together a full 48, didn't get that tonight. But like you said, it's just about stacking those wins right now and digging out of the hole that you created early in the season, falling to 2-9 at one point. But that Bucks defense, like there were moments when they really locked in the fourth quarter was another place where you saw that really happening. Like the Bucks closed the fourth quarter on a 20-7 run over like the last 8.5 minutes. And the Bulls were scoreless for like the last 4 minutes of that fourth quarter. Like you saw them really lock in defensively there. And then even in the third quarter, when you saw the Bulls on their run, the Bucks came back with a run of their own to finish that quarter, still going or still ahead heading into the fourth quarter. Like to start the third, the Bulls went on a 23-12 run. And I was at the game tonight and I was sitting there and I was like, man, this is a problem area for this team. But seeing them finish the third quarter on a 17-10 run, just get that momentum going into the fourth a bit. And then again, in the fourth, early on, you see the back and forth of it. And like, to be fair, basketball is a game of runs. It's going to happen. But you just hope to continue to see the things that got them in a good position to continue. Like you pointed out the ball movement. I thought that the offense looked really fluid as well. Dame, as we mentioned, the shot wasn't falling for him, but 10 assists, and he had like 6 of them in like the first 15 minutes or so that he was on the court. So he was really trying to get others involved, still aggressive and looking for his shot, even though it wasn't falling. And I do like to see that he continues to shoot regardless of, it going in or not, staying aggressive, understanding the gravity that he has on the team and his role in it. So again, there is still a lot more room for improvement for this Bucks team, but to see them continuously moving in the right direction offers some encouragement, especially after seeing how they looked against the Bulls the first time around a few weeks ago. So we mentioned AJ Green as well. Some of the other role players who stood out. Got to talk a bit more about them, especially given the fact that there was no Pat Connaughton in the game. When the last time there was no Pat Connaughton in the last game here, Doc said it was just game flow. It just didn't work for Pat to get into the game. And here we go, another game, no Pat Connaughton. So a bit more on the Bucks rotation after this. I mentioned that I went to the game tonight, and I'm thankful for Game Time because, man, they made it really easy to get into the building. And it's not just clutch for NBA games or sporting events alone. Like, you can go to Game Time for all events. So if there's a show or a concert that you're interested in, Game Time should have you covered for that as well. Plus, they have Game Time picks, which curates it to make it easier for you to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I personally love the ability to also toggle on and off the all-in pricing to show the whole total price up front with no surprises. Because again, y'all, I'm very finicky about my money, okay? And I need to know what it's going to be before I press that, submit button. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. AJ Green, defensive stopper, AJ Green. I honestly think that tonight he did the best job on Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine was having himself a game early on in this one, and not like he was making just wide open shots. He was hitting contested shots. He was just in a really good rhythm. You saw the Bucks eventually try to send 2 at him a bit, which did lead to some defensive breakdowns when they were trying to get back scrambling to cover up after that. But AJ Green played a really big part in helping to slow down Zach LaVine. Not only was he doing that, but he was knocking down that 3 ball, and he was just looking like somebody who, again, should be a consistent in this Bucks rotation going forward.
Yeah, and I misstated 18 points tonight, 6 out of 9 shooting. Had another 2-pointer. So, I mean, really diversifying his game. Although Giannis had him on a nice cutting pass. He had kind of a little like quick reverse layup that he missed. So, I think last year I want to say he made like 2 shots in the restricted area all year. I don't think he's made 1 this year.
No, so he got blocked against Detroit too when he went for that other layup.
Yeah. So, again, maybe not a 3-level scorer at this point, but that 1 level he is just so ridiculously good at that it doesn't matter a whole lot. And 2 steals and a block today, which, I think last year we saw him really start to understand kind of what he needed to do, how he needed to kind of just be a principled kind of man defender who moves his feet, not obviously a guy that's like making plays on the ball. But I think that's something that we've been seeing lately, where he's started to also figure out ways to, actually do a little bit of ball hawking, right? Like,
Mhm.
think about that great defensive possession he had against the Rockets, where he, slapped at the ball and got the ball when Jalen Green was eventually going up for a shot. I don't think
Mhm.
that counted, as like a block shot or anything like that, but could have easily been a steal, or even, if you strip it on the way up, right? They'll oftentimes give you a block.
Right.
So I think, again, just kind of like continuation of him kind of just getting more confident. We always talk about confidence as being like kind of an offensive thing. I don't think, AJ's ever lacked for confidence offensively. But I do think defensively, I think we're seeing a guy who, starting to just get more comfortable and aware of kind of what it takes, and kind of how he can become more and more impactful. And so, uh, again, just you have to give him a ton of credit for those kind of continued evolution, because I mean, if any team needed two-way wings, it was this one. And
Yeah.
I think him emerging as a legit two-way wing, I think just really expands the options of what you can do. I think that's a big reason why we've seen, Andre have these multiple games now where he's played a bit early and then hasn't really played
Mhm.
late, because I think Doc is comfortable knowing that AJ and Gary Trent, who I think, Gary, first off, love the fact that Gary's making threes again.
Yeah.
He made some shots again tonight, which was great to see. I don't trust Gary defensively as much as AJ to stay connected. I feel like Gary, he's a bit more of a gambler. Feels
Mhm.
like he kind of gets out of position a lot more than Andre, or than AJ does. Although I think it was AJ's fault at the end of the Rockets game, that kind of almost disaster,
Yeah,
almost
that
disastrous
miss
blown
switch.
switch. Yeah, I think that was AJ's fault, but no harm, no foul there. But yeah, I mean, I think right now, obviously Doc likes what he's getting from AJ, likes what he's getting from Gary Trent. I
Mhm.
always felt like Gary Trent, was going to get a lot of opportunities right this year, and I don't think you can ever close the book on anybody in this rotation, right? I think Pat Connaughton's going to play again at some point. We saw with DeLon Wright. It was like, oh, DeLon Wright's not playing anymore. Oh, he's
Right.
just not going to play. Well, yeah. What did it take? 2 games before Ryan Rollins' injury meant that,
Change the
DeLon had to
rotation
start
back up
playing again.
again. Mhm.
Exactly. And, we've seen him now, playing these last few games. And again, has he made some claim on minutes that he's not going to relinquish? Well, maybe not. Right. I don't think DeLon is, kind of gotten to the point where he's a lock to play every night again,
Mhm.
especially if Rollins can get healthy. Although who knows, how long that might be. Uh, but yeah, just I think just a lot of credit to AJ in particular. He's become a guy that if he's not playing 25 minutes, you kind of ask like, why
Why?
not, right?
Yep. Yep.
And tonight, 18 points, 27 minutes, game high plus 22. I felt right. That felt like, it felt like he was a plus 22 tonight in a game that the Bucks won by 16. And um, that's just huge. That's just huge
Mhm.
for him to be contributing the way he is. And, if you want the Bucks offense to look like an elite offense again, this is their second best offensive performance in terms of offensive rating tonight, a 128.
Need that.
Yeah, I mean, we know you're going to need more than Giannis and Dame, and so the way you get to those types of outputs is you get Brook Lopez scoring 21 points on 9 out of 12
Mhm.
shooting. You need AJ Green to pop in with 18 points on 6 of 9 shooting. Gary Trent 11 points on 6 shots. Um, again, like that's how you do it. You need scoring
Mhm.
depth, and fortunately, right now they're getting a little bit of that with some regularity. So, um, ironically, Torian Prince now 2 games scoreless after his 23 points on
It's like
Saturday.
Gary Trent Jr. started shooting those threes and knocking them down, and now Torian
Yeah,
Prince can't find it.
just like everybody's just stealing each other's mojo, and nobody, we can't just have everybody be feeling good at the same time. But hopefully Dame and Torian and
Mhm.
Gary and AJ, hopefully all those guys can remember how to shoot all at the same time, and Bucks will be cooking with gas at that point. But for now, certainly tonight, they had enough firepower to score a lot of points. And again, a Bulls team that doesn't have the personnel to defend, especially on the perimeter, the way some of the other teams like the Rockets can.
Mhm.
But well, hey, like I'm not taking any of this stuff for granted. Not after what we saw in the first game with the Bulls.
You can't after the start to this season because it was looking dark there for a second. Again, there is still a lot more room for the Bucks to improve. They still have a hole to climb themselves out of. But again, on a night where Dame is 7-17 from the field, where he gives you 20, a lot of times, especially without a Khris Middleton in the lineup, you really kind of worry about where the rest of that scoring is coming from. And it feels as if Doc is settling into some type of rotation. Like right now, you see that the current big three with Khris out, it's Giannis, it's Dame, and it's Brook. And those are the three who are getting the heaviest minute loads. Those are the three who the team has really been leaning on. And Brook Lopez is somebody too as well, who over the last couple games in particular, you have really seen him come on offensively. You've seen the effort from him defensively as well. I think even go up another level over the last few games. Same with Giannis. Just it's like they're just getting more comfortable in the system, figuring things out a bit, understanding their roles, and executing it at a really, really high level. The Bucks rotation, I can start to see some of the guys who I think might end up being in that playoff rotation, assuming health, like AJ Green is finding his way in there. You have Gary Trent Jr., we know Taurean Prince, but before the game, we did get some Khris Middleton news, and apparently during the ESPN broadcast, they mentioned a bit more about a possible return for Khris Middleton. So we'll update you all on that news after this. Everybody's had a time where you just kind of fall on hard times financially. Like we've all hit a point where we realized it's time to make some serious money moves because I can't keep living like this. So take control of your finances by using a Chime checking account with features like no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft protection up to $200, or you can even get paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. So join millions of Chime members who are working on financial progress. It works like this. You set up a direct deposit in your Chime account. After a qualifying direct deposit of at least $200, Chime will notify you to enroll in Spot Me. With an activated debit card, Chime will spot you up to $200 if you exceed your balance. Your next direct deposit is applied to that negative balance, and Chime never charges you any fees or interest for using that Spot Me feature. So make your fall finances a little greener by working towards your financial goals with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/MBA. That's chime.com/MBA. Chime. Feels like progress. And now some mandatory disclosures. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank NA or Stride Bank NA, members FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits do apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/disclosure for details. Some more Khris Middleton news, Frank. You might take it with a grain of salt at this point as a listener after hearing for weeks now about possible Khris Middleton news. But ahead of the game, Shams reported that Khris has been medically cleared but hasn't felt necessarily ready to play yet. Did hear Doc as well mention the fact that Khris was playing a lot of 3v3 and that he's been looking as good as he has been. And then apparently during the ESPN broadcast, it was said that the Bucks expect Middleton to possibly be available next week. So it looks as if the return of Khris Middleton might be forthcoming. Now, again, we've been around this for quite a few times with Khris, with injury news with the Bucks, period, and this season in particular, with just how the Middleton news has played out since we learned about his double ankle surgery in the offseason during Summer League. With the news that Khris might be coming back to the rotation soon, how are you feeling about his impending return, Frank?
Well, I mean, I think there are a couple ways you can interpret the report from Shams pregame, right? On the one hand, it's the obvious question of, okay, so it seems like the Bucks are saying it's about time, buddy. Time to suit up and play NBA basketball. And Khris is not quite there yet. And, you can obviously question, we've had these debates. Is Khris injury prone? I don't know if he's injury prone. I think he's healing averse. You know,
I love that.
he is. Let's just say he has been a slow healer over the years. And look, you have to trust athletes to know their own bodies to an extent, right? I'd say a lot of times it's guys wanting to play maybe when they shouldn't, In this case, it may be Khris saying like, I want to make sure I'm really ready, not rush myself back, not come back a little bit too early. Fortunately, he has a lot of experience coming back from
Yeah.
injuries. And especially 2 years ago, it ended up being very stop start after he came back. He had the wrist surgery, but then had knee problems, and it ended up being kind of just, one thing after the other, and really took him until, I think January, February, until he really started to hit his stride. So, on the one hand, you kind of give Khris the benefit of the doubt. On the other hand, if this story gets out and we sit back and say, why did this story get out? Well, I would say the call is coming from inside the building, Camille. This is not other team, other teams' general managers are happy to speculate on where Giannis might be traded
Oh,
to.
yeah.
But a story like this is obviously coming from people in the building who are watching him, who know the situation. And so, I think it's people kind of doing a tapping the watch for people on the podcast, the video feed, tapping the watch, but not in the Dame Lillard, Dame time kind of way, but in the Khris, it's time to play basketball again at a competitive level kind of way. So, again, I wouldn't get too bent out of shape over this. In fact, they're talking about next week, I think is, them trying to kind of probably subtly nudge Khris to do the thing that, again, he's a competitor. It's not like he just like is trying to collect a paycheck and not play basketball. He's got a pretty big, I don't know if it's $1.5 million or what it is, but he's got a pretty big incentive to play at least 62 games. And he's not going to hit it at this point. I mean, at this point, like,
That'll be tough.
At this point, he's already missed 15 games. He's not going to only miss 5 games. Even if he played on Friday, he's going to miss more than, 5 games the rest of the year. So he's already cost himself, a decent chunk of change because of the slow return from this injury. So again, I'm just going to look at it from the positive of, sounds like Khris Middleton is close, which this is the most kind of tangible reason to think that that could happen, really, that we've had, because otherwise it's just been us sort of listening to Doc Rivers say that he's close, he's close, he's close. And I'm guessing at this point, Doc is also probably a little bit trying to code that as we think he should be playing pretty soon. And, I think this type of report is way better than hearing that he had a setback and that, the doctors need him to sit out for a while and then restart things and re-ramp, right? So on the one hand, it's a bit awkward if the team is saying you're ready and the guy's saying, I don't think I'm not quite there. But I'm going to choose to be optimistic and say, it sounds like Khris Middleton is hopefully close to returning. And when that happens, obviously, we've seen it the last couple of years, even if he's not, immediately the Khris Middleton that we saw in the playoffs, averaging 25 points a game, even a 20 to 25 minute version of Khris Middleton, it can be a huge shot in the arm, especially for this team offensively, given just some of the limitations they have, the lack of, kind of playmaking depth that they have. So, yeah, let's put this positive spin on it. Bucks win today. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, the Khris Middleton return moment is getting a little closer. And again, maybe a little bit of a weird circumstance around it because of perhaps Khris not being as eager to get there as the team wants to. But, again, it's late on a Wednesday night, Camille. I'm not gonna pull a negative
Belabor the point
on you. Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna go Debbie Downer on you. I'm gonna just cross my fingers and say, hopefully we start to see the, kind of full version of this Milwaukee Bucks team sooner rather than later, which would be a refreshing thing. At least then we can stop trying to speculate about how much of the offense being mediocre is because Khris isn't around and blah, blah, blah. Let's just see the full version of this team. Who knows? Maybe stay healthy for a little bit. God forbid this team actually kind of
get some good injury luck.
Yeah, keep their best players on the floor for a little bit. Wouldn't that be nice? And we can actually see kind of what the real version of this team looks like. So in the meantime, hopefully keep winning some games until then. But yeah, I'll choose to look at the half full version of the glass.
I absolutely will be doing the same as well. All in all, again, the Bucks have now won 4 of their last 5. Arguably should be 5 of their last 5 if the foul call in Charlotte went a different way.
That's what Doc seemed to be thinking with his post-game comments.
He was right. He was right. I'm glad that, yes, he was right about that. And it was a game 2 tonight where it was another foul where someone just fell and the Bucks got fouled. And I was like, we're not doing this again. But
Yeah. That was
like,
that Kobe White just
yes, just fell.
Like AJ was guarding him and then like he separated and then like just fell
slipped
down and they called a foul because like, well, you were in the vicinity. So
we got to stop that, refs. We got to stop it. But luckily, that didn't affect the game for the Bucks in this one. Again, a 122-106 win for the Bucks to move to 6-9 on the season. 4 of their last 5 games. They are currently like tied right now for like 9th or 10th in the East, with a lot of room to be able to continue to move up those standings. So again, Bucks are moving in the right direction in the sense of at least starting to turn some of this process that we've been seeing over the last few weeks into actual tangible wins. So hopefully they keep that going on Friday in the NBA Cup game against the Pacers. So we'll wrap up here on this win. As a reminder, again, make sure that you check out the Locked On Bucks daily newsletter. Head to lockedondaily.com and sign up there. For Frank and myself, we'll catch you later.